Hey everyone, Debbie Jones here with the Thomson-McDuffie Chamber of Commerce, and we're so glad you're joining us today for our 4th episode of the Chamber Connect show. We would like to thank all of our chamber members for continuing to invest in the chamber and allowing us this opportunity to be able to bring pertinent information to the community. So thank you to all of those that are sticking with us this year. We have a great show for you today. Citizens from McDuffie County came together through the Archway Partnership and formed a committee to come up with some ideas to celebrate the anniversary, the 150th anniversary of McDuffie County, which comes October 18th. You'll start to see several activities taking place throughout the year that will be commemorating this occasion. And one of the ideas that they came up with is doing a book with the history of our county. Well, we actually have 2 books that were recently published just in time for the anniversary. And the authors are here today to talk a little bit about the books and when the book signings will be. But first, if you have questions or comments that you would like to ask our presenters today, then just post it in the comments below. So let's go ahead with our show. I've got our first author here, and it is Chase Beggs. Let me pull him up real quick. Hey, Chase.
Hey, Debbie. How you doing?
Doing great. So Chase is our Planning and Zoning Director with the McDuffie County Commission, and he is one of the authors that has published a book, and I'm going to let you kind of tell a little bit more about your book, Chase. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, Debbie. So I did started working on a pictorial history about 2 years ago. The book is 127 pages with about 250 photos, and it's broken into 5 sections. The sections begin with an overview of the county, different communities in the county. So I tried to use pictures from to explain the history of Boneville, Deering, the city of Thompson, Raysville, Cobham, other notable communities on historical maps in McDuffie County. The next chapter is People of the Past. Go ahead.
So Chase, tell me, I've got a picture here of, the signings that you have taken place, and this is the cover of it, correct?
That's the cover.
Okay, so we've got the date set for the signing on September 17th, which is tomorrow at the depot, 5 to 7. Okay,
that's right.
So, and you've got, how many books have you got right now?
I've got 400 pre-ordered.
Oh, pre-ordered.
Yeah.
Like people have already pre-ordered these books, or you've got them?
I'll have 400 tomorrow night.
Awesome. So you'll be there to sign these books. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about what's in these books. You said it's more of a pictorial.
That's right. It's a pictorial history. All the pictures in here have a caption of about 75 to 100 words, and the captions explain the photo, the time, where it took place. Just gives a brief history.
All right. So I've got a picture you sent me about, I think this is the churches.
Right.
So this is a glimpse of what is inside the book. Can you tell me a little bit about this? Like what led you to want to focus on churches?
So the book is broken up into 5 sections: people of the past, McDuffie County churches, McDuffie County schools, and then other notable landmarks and places. So one of the chapters, the church chapter, I kind of collected older pictures of different churches, historic churches in McDuffie County. And I tried to use pictures that showed more of the historical view than the current view of the different churches. So like I said, that's just an overview of the different churches and a little brief history of how the churches were formed.
All right, so let's back up a step. And what led you to want to do this book?
I've always been interested in local history and history, period, and have enjoyed talking with elders in the community, hearing stories of the past, but particularly looking at old pictures. That fascinates me to see what something looked like in the past versus what it does today. And many of the pictures in the book, the places in the pictures are gone now. They're not even here. So each picture tells a story. That's kind of what got me interested in it. So I wanted to compile a book. And like I was telling you a while back, my grandmother had a copy that she gave me of the Lincoln County book. My father's side of the family is from Lincoln County, and some of our ancestors are in that book. And so that kind of intrigued me and got me going down this path. And so I reached out to the publishing company, Arcadia, and explained to them that I was from McDuffie County and had been collecting pictures for many years and would like to do a copy for our county. That's how this all got going.
So we didn't have Arcadia Publishing. They've done this for other communities, and we didn't have that here in our county. So you took on that project.
Right. So Images of America collect or contracts with local authors to do pictorial histories of different cities and counties. Columbia County, Richmond County, and Lincoln County already had, and I think Wilkes County had a copy, but McDuffie didn't. So I felt like it would be nice to compile historic images from our area into a book.
So how long have you been working on this project?
I think I started working on it back in mid-2018. So, and I finished back in June of this year. So about 2 years completely from start to finish.
And some of your, how did you obtain some of the pictures and have gotten the stories behind them? Give me some examples.
That was the hardest part because it took me going around to different, like for the churches chapter, I had to, for many of those, I had to go to the church office and borrow the picture of the church and scan and then write the history of that image. Many of the pictures of the homes and the people came from different families that have deep roots here in the community. So I would spend a Saturday or Sunday going to visit with someone, and they would pretty much sit there for hours telling me about their family history through photos. And that was probably the most fun to me, was listening to the old tales, family oral histories passed down. And yeah.
So give me one of your favorite, maybe one of your favorite interviews that you had that it just kind of stuck with you.
Well, one of them was Miss Murray Beckham, Bill Beckham's mother. She had a fascinating family history. Their family has many ties to the different older homes in the city of Thompson as well as in the county. Bill lives in Miss Murray's grandparents' house out there on the way to Raysville Campground. But Miss Murray explained that at one time her family, through marriage, owned from Raysville to Russaw Creek. They could pretty much go from Raysville. This is before the lake, of course. It was just Little River there. But she could pretty much go from her house or her family's home in Raysville to Russaw Creek without ever crossing over onto someone else's property. So that's kind of fascinating to think about, owning that much property. And at that time, the lake wasn't there, so there was no barriers to get. You could just go straight on land, crossing maybe a creek here or there.
All right. So this book has lots of different old pictures from how far back?
Some of them go back to the mid 1800s.
Wow.
And then I was saying some of them, there are a couple sketches of churches that they didn't have a picture. Let's see. Yeah, probably about the mid 1800s or late 1800s.
That's great. So this book, how much is this book?
It'll be $25.
Okay, so $25, that's a deal. I mean, this is something that is a piece of history that would be great for women to have on their coffee table. It's a conversation piece. We'll be going into Christmas season for long, so if you're looking for a Christmas gift, this would be a great gift to give somebody. But there's another item that you kind of spearheaded for the 150th anniversary. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I will. The 150th marketing committee through RSVP, Debbie, you were on there with me. We got together and tried to come up with some ideas of things to market the anniversary. And one of those was the Easter seals ornament. So some people know that there was a set of about 20 Easter seals ornaments that started in the 90s that went through the mid 2000s and that showed different historical landmarks across the county. And so this year, in order to commemorate the 150th anniversary, we decided to use the government center here on Railroad Street, just because it kind of is an all-encompassing landmark of the city and county. It was kind of hard to pick something that would represent 150 years of the county, but this is where we are today. And I've got the ornament here if you want to see it.
It looks great. Y'all, it is beautiful. I love the color. And it has got celebrating 150 years. So right. How much are the ornaments going for?
The ornaments are $20, and people can purchase them at the McDuffie County Tax Commissioner's Office, the City Utilities Office, the Planning Commission, and the McDuffie Progress.
All right, awesome. So this is a lot of good stuff. Great gift ideas for Christmas coming up. I know we feel like it's a little early to be thinking about Christmas, but I can promise you people are making their list already. So go ahead and put this down. So you said $25 for the book. The book signing will be tomorrow, 5 to 7 at the depot.
Right.
And you will also have another author there that will be signing as well, and I'll bring him on in just a minute. So Chase, is there anything else you want to add to the book signing?
I think that's it, Debbie. I'm excited to get a copy of Lewis's book. I think our books will complement each other. Like Lewis was sharing before, a story about the first car in McDuffie County. I kind of got the picture in my book, and he's got a detailed story of it. So I'm excited.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right, Chase, well, hang tight. I'm going to bring you back in once we have our questions at the end of the show. So we will see you soon.
Thank you, Debbie.
All right. So you got to hear from Chase Beggs on his pictorial book. And now we're going to bring on Lewis Smith, who runs the McDuffie Museum. And he spearheaded these are stories that were brought out about the community through the years. And I'm going to bring on Lewis. Hey, Lewis.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
So, Lewis, we just spoke with Chase about his book and the book signing that will be tomorrow, 5 to 7 at the depot, and you will be there as well, correct?
No.
You're not. Oh, I had you
No.
there. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to tell you that. Chase went ahead and tentatively scheduled his, and then he contacted me after he had set his up and advertised it. But I'm speaking tomorrow at the Lincoln Historical Society meeting, and it starts at 5 o'clock and it runs to like 8:30. So I couldn't make it and didn't want to change the other thing because it had been advertised. So Chase and I'll be together on the 8th of October at the McDuffie Museum,
Okay.
5 to 7.
Okay.
But I won't be there tomorrow night.
Okay. So on the 8th of October 8th at the McDuffie Museum, 5 to 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Chase and I'll be there.
You'll be there. All right. So Louis, tell us a little bit about your book. I've got a copy of it right here.
Yes. This book was brought about as a project of the 150th celebration. And we had a committee that set up under Archway with Sam Perrin was headed things up. And we got together and decided to do the book. And I solicited stories throughout the community from all the citizens to submit stories that had something to do with McDuffie County that was from their family or something else. So we did get probably 20 or more stories submitted by citizens. They're in the book. I didn't edit them. I haven't tried to change what anybody's written. I did over the years, since like 2014 or 15, I wrote stories almost weekly for the McDuffie Progress, and I have all of those on my computer. So out of the 190 stories I had, I found about 140 of them that I pulled out, dusted off, re-edited. Some of them were a series of 6 stories over 6 weeks. I compiled them all into one story. I did that on 5 or 6 different occasions, and we put them in the book. And the rest of the stories came off the internet. I mean, there's stuff that you can find, but basically what we've done is we've saved everybody 2 years of looking through the internet for every story they could find about McDuffie County or something related about this.
That's great, Louis. And so this is 456 pages of stories. You've got 220 stories in there.
Yes, you can see the book. You're going to show a copy of it too.
Yes.
But
I mean, it's a big book.
2.5 pounds. And see, it's not a small book. It's 8.5 by 11.
Yes. And so, how many books do you have right now that you could sell?
I've got 40 left right at the moment, and I've got 50 on order. So I should have 90 books by the book signing. So I'm just going to order them as they come.
Okay, so you've already had people pre-order or have already picked some up?
Yes, there's all you have to do is I think you might be mentioning my website. I've got a website.
I'll bring it up right now.
And I've got an email. All you have to do is email me and say, Louis, I would like 1, 2, 3, or 4 books, and send me and ask about the details. And I'll tell you they're $25 each. But if I mail them, since they weigh 2.5 pounds, I have to add $5 for shipping and handling. And then I will mail them to whomever is just giving me the address. But I wait until I receive a check or a money order or PayPal. And so we've already been notified by people in California, Harry Musselwhite. We've been, some folks I don't know, Kerry Grant has ordered 4 books for him because his mother's here and he visits often. And so, they're all over. So all you have to do is email me, say, Louis, how about sending me 2 of your books inscribed to, to Harry and Bess or somebody like that, and send us a check, and we'll be glad to send them out immediately.
So, Louis, they go to your blog page, which is what I'm showing right now, and then go to the contact. Yes. Correct. Okay.
That's right. You can go there, and on the contact on the last page, it has my email address, and it says I'm on Facebook with Louis Smith and the McDuffie Museum, 2 of those. And so it's really a simple thing, honestly. It's nothing to it.
Okay. So we've got how much is the book?
$25.
Okay.
And $5 for shipping because it's 2.5 pounds.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So Louis, let's talk about some of your favorite pieces in the book. So what are some of your favorite stories in?
Well, I'll be glad to. But first, before I forget, let me send out some word of thanks.
Okay.
I'd like to thank my wife, Joanne, who's always been my proofreader and everything. She's read all these stories 1, 2, or 3 times and gave me suggestions, corrections, things like that. She's been very instrumental in doing this. Lisa Rogers typed a lot of the stories that we found that weren't on the internet. We had to type them from scratch. She did a great job. I sent all the stories to Sam Perrin in Georgia, and he read them all. He said he read them all. I don't know if he did.
I'm sure he did.
And then he got a student from UGA who we give credit for the inside cover of the book for designing the cover, but she did a great job on that. And Sean Kelly's been wonderful about printing the thing out and letting me proof it, and then we maybe have to change 1 or 2 things and then reproof it again. So he's been great on that. And Mary Wells in Deering, Georgia, she is so wonderful. She's done such a great job. She was wonderful at the museum. She'd be doing stuff, running the museum today if her legs and all would allow her. She just can't get out that much. But she did a great job. She sent me a ton of the Deering stories, contacted the people of Deering and had them send me information. So my hats are off to her. Everything in Deering was basically for Mary. But now Gladys Rogers gave me a copy of the Lucille Rogers family history. It was a large book. She gave me a copy of Lord Rogers' history. It's not quite as large as Lucille Dixon. And we had Betsy Yarborough gave us the Gibson family history. And then Gladys Rogers loaned us a copy of the McGahee history from the Deering community. So between that and about 5 or 6 other books we had at the museum, we had Basil Neal's A True Son of the American Revolution from 1914. His father was actually fought in the Revolutionary War, and he lived on Happy Valley in 1780 in Appleton, right south of Mistletoe State Park. So, and then we had other books. So we went to everything we found. Every document we had at the museum, every book we had at the museum, every article we could find on the internet. Now, there are a lot of stories that aren't in here because they've been in other books. They had Collins and Stovall's great book of 1932. We have Pearl Baker's book from 1970. We have Tom Holly had his 3-volume set of the Confederate war soldiers from around here. And I didn't put any of that stuff in here because you can get that from those books. So all of these stories are kind of they're fun books. So let me read a few stories, and I'll let me
some fun stories in there that are just kind of some maybe even make you chuckle a little.
Well, I did get some stories out here, but this I wanted to say that this is a collection of historical stories relating to McDuffie County and its cities. And this book is not intended to provide an all-inclusive formal history of the county or its citizens, because many of those have already been published. Instead, this is hopefully a general impression of the county's people and their inner lives and their ideals, the things which make us up what we are in our McDuffie spirit. And so this isn't intended to be a bunch of cold, dead facts covering episodes of life in the county. And like I said, we've got 220 stories in 12 different sections. Now, here's a story that demonstrates what it was like to live in a farming community in like 1930 in Deering, in McDuffie County. Roscoe McGahee wrote of his sister Altoona McGahee Casey. And this is Roscoe writing this. Altoona was born October 23rd, 1895. And this is the way these stories are written. These are written by people here, and this is not a history story, even though it is. She was greatly respected throughout her life by her family and community for her cooking, sewing, and hospitality. Altoona once shared the memory of sitting before an open fire on a cold winter evening with her grandmother, Lucy. Lucy began to whittle on a stick that was soon crafted into a crochet needle by Altoona. With thread unraveled from flour sacks, Altoona soon learned the art of crochet. At the age of 6, she made her first quilt and also picked 100 pounds of cotton that day.
Oh, my mercy.
When our mother, Maddie, died, and Maddie died, I have another story about Maddie. She died giving birth to triplets. The little boy died almost immediately, and the 2 girls died like 6 weeks later. But Maddie gave those 2 girls to her sisters so that they could raise them. And this is what life was like back then. So when our mother, Maddie, died, Altoona, her responsibilities now descended upon the shoulders of Altoona and our sister Hazel. Altoona assumed a mother role that included, here's what a mother did back in those days: milking cows, making clothes and underwear for 7 brothers and sisters, preparing meals, cleaning house, washing clothes, and working in the fields. Later, when her younger sisters and brothers assumed more of the responsibilities, Altoona moved to Atlanta and worked in a millinery shop making hats. And then I put in here 10 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week in a factory was like a vacation compared to what she had been doing. So that was just my little insight.
That's really neat, Lewis. I tell you what, I don't know if I would have made it back then.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah. Life in Deering, 1923 to 1926 by Eloise Rogers of Waterhouse. What was Deering like in this period? It was like most villages of approximately 200 people. We must say it was not what we would call beautiful, nor was it ugly. It was our town, well-worn, homespun, and utilitarian, our home. Everyone knew everyone. If a person did something good or bad or naughty, or excelled in some way, or had a new baby, or got drunk, or was in a wreck, or got married, or bought a new car, everybody knew it. And we had no jail, but we had great school teachers and 2 churches. Life revolved around the school, the Methodist and Baptist churches, and the post office. Our streets were dirt, even the highway going east and west from Augusta to Atlanta. The highway divided the town. There was something like a monument about 4 feet high in the middle of the highway at the main crossroads. It was supposed to force drivers of cars to go through Deering slowly. It was a great idea for our safety. And that was about all they had. But then when Mary Wells, I had submitted this to her, and she said, Lewis, here's an article from the Progress. So thanks to Mary Wells. The McDuffie Progress of September 19, 1929 reported that 2 men were burned to death early Wednesday morning when the truck they were driving crashed into the concrete signpost at the intersection of Main Street and the highway in Deering and caught fire from the gas tank. The impact was so great that the load of whiskey slid forward and pinned the 2 men. The truck was loaded with whiskey, 700 gallons.
Oh,
now, I talked to Bill Howard and told me that story a long time ago, but he couldn't remember those details. But thanks to Mary Evans Wells, we know. So the railroad went east and west in our town. Most of the time, there were hobos on the train in the door of a car who waved their greetings and smiled, or sometimes they walked on top of the train, even while it was moving. Also, the hobos liked to stop off between trains and go to a nearby house and ask for food. On the north side of the tracks, across from the depot, was the Bank of Deering, not more than 50 feet from the tracks. Adjacent to the bank were Mr. Rob Morgan's and Mr. Baggett's grocery stores, with a roof over the dirt sidewalk and benches between the posts supporting the road. 2 or 3 passenger trains made daily runs, but there were many more freight trains passing through every day and night. Several minutes before the shrill whistle of the train announced its approach, came the deafening ring of the crossing bell and lowering of the barriers. Some streets ran down each side of the road, with houses near the tracks. Only long-time residents there could sleep through the nighttime whistle and roar of the trains. So you can picture right there at Deering, right now today, the railroad tracks going there, and those houses on either side, and those trains coming through there constantly, and they're lowering and raising those barriers and all that noise.
Well, Lewis, those are great stories, and I know that people are going to be excited to get that book and to be able to kind of just go back in time reading those stories. So one more thing, I know you mentioned one about, you mentioned one more story to me. I think it was about Boone Knox.
Yeah, I'll read you those. I've got like 4 more stories, but I don't know how the time's going, but I'll be glad to. This might take 4 or 5 minutes if we have the time. So a guy, author and Augusta named Jim Garvey was commissioned by Boone Aiken Knox to record the history of Peter S. Knox Jr. and his family. Boone wanted to leave a record of the world he grew up in. That's what Boone's quote was, so that his descendants could understand their heritage. Garvey said, "Build a good house" was written in truth, even when there was some pain in it, because the family insisted it be a history of human beings, not plaster saints. The book's title came from the advice Mr. Pete gave his sons. Boys, build a good house, at a profit if you can, but at a loss if you must, but build a good house. So here's a couple of the stories, if you don't mind.
Okay.
The sons of Peter Knox Jr. had been set up in business together, building houses, after Peter got his degree from Georgia Tech and Harvard in 1959. And Boone got his bachelor's degree from the University of Georgia in 1958. But their education had begun years before on the farm. Their father had been teaching them to be Knoxes from the time they were little boys. Peter was born in 1934, Boone in 36, and Nancy 15 years later. Mr. Pete built a big house for the family out on Seymour Farm, north of Thompson on Route 78, which was a dirt road back then, and they moved out there in 1942. They grew up in a small town surrounded by aunts and uncles and cousins. They were all there every Sunday, sitting on the right side of the Methodist church. The cousins were almost like siblings, and they were all raised with the same values. You go to church on Sunday. You do what you say you will. Your word is your bond. You work hard. You pay your bills, and you give. So with the Knox name came responsibilities. Boone said, "We did everything there was to do on a farm, everything." And this is Boone Knox.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could operate anything. We could do anything a $3.50 a day hand could do. We knew how to operate cross-cut saws that ran off a power takeoff of the back of a tractor. We got stove wood and firewood. We knew how to work the sawmill, and we cut slabs and stacked lumber. We could wring a chicken's neck, combine oats and wheat, bale hay, plow a mule, gee-haw. We learned it all from the hands on the farm. They were instructed to teach us. The only white folks were an overseer and a dairyman. So at summer camp, a lot of folks know this, maybe not too many. At summer camp when he was 11, Boone contracted polio, a terrifying crippler, especially of children in the 40s and the 50s. Part of his treatment at University Hospital in August, in those days before air conditioning, was to be covered in wet wool blankets soaked in boiling water. The polio had attacked the left side of Boone's body, leaving the left leg shorter than the right. His parents sent him down to Warm Springs for rehab and visited there almost every weekend. Boone returned home in March. He was on crutches, but he was determined to get right back into sports. When baseball season started in the spring, he couldn't run, of course, but that didn't stop him. At practice, he'd bat for a buddy, who couldn't hit, and the buddy would run for him. Before long, he was strong enough to get rid of the crutches. And as people around here know, the older folks, he played football, baseball, and in high school became the tennis double champ. "Having polio taught me to never give up," Boone said. "Daddy wouldn't let us give up." So I have two more if I have time.
Let's just do one more. We're
okay.
Hello,
All
and
right.
then we're going to take it. We're going to bring Chase back on and entertain questions if we have any.
All right, sounds
So
great. All right. Okay, here's Peter S. Knox died in 1993 at the age of 81. Boone and his brother Pete III left the hospital and drove to Thompson. They sat in their father's house waiting for their sister to arrive from Texas. We decided that the proper thing to do was to build him a pine box. When Nancy got there, Boone and Peter and Dr. Joe Bailey drove out to see Mike Moore, a one-armed carpenter who had a lot of heart pine timber. We woke him up about 11 to 12 the night before the funeral, Boone remembered. The lights of the car shone in the window of the farmhouse. We saw him get up, hitch up his pants, and come to the door cautiously. Now, somebody, I think Joanne, asked Mike one time, why did he wear sandals in the wintertime? at Walmart. Mike said, "But have you ever tried to lace your shoes up with one hand?" So that was the answer there. So they told Mike, "We want to build a casket." And in what size? Boone laid down on the floor and Mike took the measurements. They went out and got rough lumber, not dress lumber, but rough lumber, and ran it through his planer. "We were at it all night," said Boone. They called the funeral home. "Just keep Daddy there. We'll get the coffin there. It's what Daddy would have wanted." Later, when they got back to the funeral home for Nancy to say her goodbyes, the funeral director said, "We need a suit to put Mr. Knox in." The boy said, "Just wrap him up in this blanket." "I'll do that after embalming," the director said. "We don't want him embalmed." "Well, you're going to have to pick out the casket. We're working on that right now." "Well, what in the world do you want me to do?" "Put Daddy in the box we're going to give you and have him at the cemetery at 4 o'clock tomorrow." So Mr. Pete was buried wrapped in a blanket and a plain pine box which Boone measured out with his body and which he and Peter helped build. That felt exactly right. Nothing superfluous, nothing ostentatious, nothing to inhibit their father's return to dust. Earth and wood and faith, the simple things of which man was made on the Daddy's grave. They had carved lines from Shakespeare. His life was gentle and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, "This was a man."
That is awesome. These are great stories, Lois. I can't wait to read the book.
Yes.
They're just so unique, and it's from their point of view, and so you can it's almost like you can step back in time.
Yes. Now I asked Liz if it was okay for me to print these stories, and I asked Georgianne. She gave me the book, and then I had Ruth Knox look at a couple of them to see if there was anything that she disapproved of. So I've had a lot of support from them. And in this book, you're going to have, some people might take a little bit of offense about some things because they're personal stories, but that's what you have to remember. They are personal stories, and I didn't write anything of those that might offend somebody, I don't think. So.
Well, I can't wait to get it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and bring Chase back on. Hey, Chase.
Hey, I enjoyed that, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you.
All right, so a little clarification of we do have Chase's book signing, which will be tomorrow, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Thomson Depot. And then Chase and Lewis are going to do another signing, right? October 8th, 5 to 7 at the McDuffie Museum. All right, I got it right. That's great.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to check the comments. I see we did have somebody post good stuff, Chase, but I'm not seeing any questions. So with that, I just want to, are there any final messages you want to mention to the viewers about, the upcoming anniversary or anything of that nature? Chase, you want to add anything?
I think I'm good. Unless you have any more questions for me.
Yeah, don't forget that we have the ornament as well. And where can we pick up the ornament?
So the ornament can be purchased at the McDuffie County Tax Commissioner's Office, the McDuffie County Planning Commission, City of Thomson Utilities, Begg's Funeral Home, Richard's Florist, and Lewis. Do we have some at the museum?
I don't know if he got that.
Not yet. You asked would I put some in, but unfortunately, the museum hadn't been open for 6 months, and I go there regularly just to check on it, clean up, and get the mail. But I don't have any yet. No.
Okay.
All right. So, Chase, if you
when we open, I want to get some from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chase, if you don't mind, will you show us that ornament one more time? Do you have it close by?
Sure.
So there's the ornament. It's colored. It's got the 150th logo on there. Y'all, this is a beautiful timepiece, and I think it's a great gift to give anybody for Christmas coming up. And it's celebrating the anniversary that begins October 18th. So please check with Chase and all the places that he mentioned. And then these books are great gifts to give for Christmas coming up, or for any reason. If you just want to, get it for yourself because you're really curious about history, then go ahead and purchase that. But these are great gift items if you want to reach out to these two and the places that they will have them. So one more time, Chase, where will your books be placed that they can come and pick one up?
Beggs Funeral Home, Richard's Florist. Hope to have a few at the museum once we get back opened up, and they can contact me, telephone or email.
Okay.
You want me to go ahead and give you my email that way?
Yeah, let me, let's see. Tell me your email real quick.
Chase Beggs. 25 at yahoo.com.
Okay. Chase Beggs 5 at yahoo.com.
25, as in the number 25.
Gotcha.
Yep. Or they can call me 706 466.
Okay. Hold on, I'm writing these in the chat section. So call Chase at 706
466 4324.
All right. So if you're wanting to order a book from Chase, his number and emails are located in the chat. So I hope I have that correct. You're looking at it like
Yep, that's good. You got it right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Lewis, again, tell us, how can we find these books?
If you email me, and you have that, I believe, but it's my name, Lewis, with the E-W, L-E-W, Smith, and my birthday, February 22nd. So it's 22247. Yeah, at Gmail.
Well, what I have here is.
Well, yeah, that's my website, and I have a blog that I'm doing that once a week. So you can contact that very easily. And on the contact page, you'll have my email address there, or you can respond to that right there and tell me. And I'll be more than happy to meet you. Like this Terry Grant just wants 4 books. He's going to come to town to visit his mama, and I'm going to meet him and give him 4 signed copies. So that'll be fine. Now, Chase, I'd like to say that I got him on the board of the McDuffie Museum last year because I'm looking for somebody young to take over shortly when I retire from the museum. And I thought, don't you think he would be the perfect person to take my place at the museum?
We definitely don't want you to go anywhere yet.
And so Chase actually, when I was doing a little bit a background on him, he's actually got he is a history major, right?
Oh my goodness.
I am. I majored in history from Augusta University with a minor in political science. So
you're the man.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you all for joining us today for our Chamber Connect show. Be on the lookout for these books to be out and help us celebrate the 150th anniversary. I want to thank you too for being with us and sharing that with us. It is always such a pleasure to have some interesting pieces to commemorate this momentous occasion. So with that, thank you all for joining us. I'm going to let you go. And again, to our audience, thank you for being with us today. I want to thank our chamber members for sticking with us even through these trying times. And we appreciate all that you do to support the chamber and our community. With that, we thank you all and have a good day.